it away. The give and go. Cowan obliging.
That's a good mark in the air taken by Alex Rance.
Love that one off the boot. Buddy is back.
Welcome to another week of the Draft Stars Show. My name is Shura Taft and this is Kane Corns. Great to have you along this week. Are you tagging me?
I'm not tagging you, but we'll speak about taggers later.
Okay.
And one man who I could never get a hold of when I tried to tag him, a Draft Stars Hall of Famer. But a lot of fun last week and great to be back again this week.
It is great to be back. Now, for those Draft Stars players out there, remember, it's all about getting to the website if you want to find out how to play this game, draftstars.com.au. Head to the lobby and that's got all of the games that you can play over the weekend, Kane. There's lots of them.
So many to choose from, and if you have a bad game one time, then you might just hit up again and go the Sunday game if your Saturday team didn't perform the way you expected them to do. So many options. Also, download the app. It's really easy to use and get involved with that.
And there's plenty of prizes as well. Some big ones on the weekend, some Saturday and Sunday 20K contests, which we are going to touch on. But first up, Friday night, a 10K contest. You've had a look at this.
This will be huge, so let's take a look. It is Western Bulldogs taking on Collingwood at Etihad Stadium. Now, Western Bulldogs players love playing at Etihad Stadium. Their midfielders actually score 30% higher when playing on this ground, so you might want to load up on Western Bulldogs midfielders. The first player that I want to take a look at is Liam Picken, because he's been down on form the last 3 weeks, just averaging in the low 70s, but I'm tipping him to bounce back at 13,500. He's good value. Tipping him to get back up to his 85 points per game average. This man also loves playing on Etihad Stadium. Jake Stringer averages 2.2 goals on this ground. He averages in the 70s for Draft Stars points at Etihad, where when he's playing away, he doesn't like it. He's only in the high 50s. So get him in at 10,600. He is great value. Those two should have a big Friday night game, sure.
Now, can I mention something as well? We talked about this last week because we actually went through a lot of the games. With the 10,000 Friday night game, it's just those players from Collingwood and Bulldogs. So you've got to pick a team of just those teams.
You do, and it's harder than it sounds. You only got the $100,000, but if you want to just pick all Western Bulldogs players, you can do that if you think they're going to perform really well, but it's an actual art to fitting them all inside the salary cap. Now, the game you want to look at...
Well, before we do that...
Let's do that.
Because we did talk last week about the scores and how it all works. So let's quickly run through for the players out there exactly the scores that you get when players are playing this game. So you can see kicks are worth 3 points, handball's worth 2 points. That's not too much of a discrepancy when it comes to players who overpossess by handball. But it's interesting to see that it doesn't matter about effectiveness, or, you know...
Contested possessions, doesn't matter. Just that is what you score. Now, if they're playing in the wet, players get a lot of tackles. So there are other things you can look at. If Max Gawn's playing this week and he's not up against a recognised ruckman, he might get a lot of hit-outs, so you get the 1 point for the hit-out. But that is how you
don't
score.
want undisciplined players, do you?
You do not want frees against, so keep an eye on that always.
Buddy Franklin always gets a few free kicks against. Loves a fend-off, a high fend-off. You've got to be careful. And like you said last week, it's always helpful to have midfielders who kick goals because 6 points for a goal...
Crucial.
Value.
Absolutely vital, so keep an eye on that. Now, I did jump the gun before, but it is time to look at the big one, the 20K Saturday shootout. You're going to take a look at that for us.
This is going to be a big day for you Saturday players. Now, the Saturday shootout has a few games to pick from. You can see you can get players in. This is the team we've picked for you at the moment. Players from all sorts of places, including Hawthorn there, Sydney and Melbourne, who are taking on Port Adelaide. But the players we want to focus on for this weekend, starting with Hawthorn, is Josh Gibson. Now, this man we know is a gun defender, All-Australian as well. He's had some big scores this year. To round 2 and round 18, he scored 157, 131. But his last 2 weeks, he's been down 57 and 52. Expect him to come back. He's been well below his points per game of 84. But you know that he's a proud man and he's going to want to go well. So I reckon he might be a good one to get in your defence at 12,850. If you want to lock a man into your team each week and know you're going to get 100 points, Max Gawn's your man. I mean, he's got the beard, he's got the look, and he's dominating absolutely every ruckman. Over the last 8 weeks, he's averaging 120 points per game, well over his points per year of 106. So, yes, you're going to spend 15,000 to get him, but he's going to lock in 100 points. And he's playing Jackson Trengrove this week from Port, and we know he's going to monster him because he's 208 centimetres. The last player we want to look at for the Saturday shootout now, this is an interesting one. I've got him in my team because not only is he the heart and soul of St Kilda, but he's kicked more goals than anyone at Etihad Stadium, and we know that he's going to be up and about because St Kilda playing for their finals life. And, well, he's averaging 105 points per game. He's taking plenty of marks and he's averaging lots of footy. So I reckon Nick Riewold's a good one to have in this week, Kane. But here's one for you. Hawthorn playing at the MCG. Now, potentially it could be wet tomorrow and 20% down on their draft star scores when it's wet. But how about this? We talked about having rookies in your side. Hawthorn have got a bloke by the name of Ryan Burton.
Well, and he's an SA boy, picked 19 in the draft last year, and he's cheap. You think he's some really good value?
I do. 6,400 for Ryan Burton. And apparently he played in the Sandford at 16 years old and kicked 4 goals on debut, so he can play.
Well, 6,400 is about as cheap as you are going to get in draft stars. So we love our rookies and we love a bit of value, so get him in there.
Yeah, why not? Get him in. Now, this is the team last week. Had you had this team in your draft shootout, you are actually a genius. You would have scored look at that, 1-1-1-1. Now, let's run through this team. What do you make of this, Kane?
Well, all very good performances. Adelaide killed it against Brisbane. Isaac Heaney was great. And your man, Max, scored.
Yeah.
Now, to put it in context, I scored about 750 last week. What did you score?
Oh, look, about half that.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was in the 500s.
You're having a little dig at me, eh? Yeah, I didn't have a great week. I didn't use the Brisbane. I should have put more players, Adelaide players in, because I tell you what, that was the thing to do. You can see Talia and Smith had big weeks. I'm not sure any Adelaide played. In fact, the runner, I think, from Adelaide scored over 100 as well. So Patrick Cripps in there. You would have been a genius to have that side in.
And you might want to get Cripps back in there because he plays against Brisbane this week, loves playing against them. So he could replicate that 131 again this week.
But last week there was a big discrepancy between our team of the week and the winner. But have a look at this. You can see you could have got some serious points last week. Rob Dog, who took home the chocolates in the 20k contest, 948. That's not that short of the 11.
Rob Dog is a genius.
Well, Rob Dog had, I'm pretty sure, 7 or 8 Adelaide players in there. And, hey, that's a tactic.
Well, you can do that, and there's no restrictions on how many players you can have from either team. So whoever's playing Essendon this week, it is the Gold Coast Suns. You might want to load up on them. Carlton played Brisbane. Not sure there's too many Carlton players to load up on, but certainly something to consider.
Maybe a Simpson, maybe a Cripps. Now, you're not that long retired out of the game. I want to make a point here, by the way. I consider myself fairly tall at 6 foot, and then I stand next to Kane Cornes, a player that I watched and thought was short. You're not that short.
Well, I'm 6 foot. So if I'm 6 foot, what does that make? You must be 5'11".
Come on now. Anyway, you probably said, you can say to the young players now, back in my day when I was playing.
I can say back in my day, and back in my day, this man was a star, and he still is as coach of the Collingwood Footy Club, under a little bit more pressure, but 102 points per game average. That puts him straight into Draft Stars Hall of Fame stuff. He played the 280 games for Collingwood. That is...
That's elite.
That is pretty elite,
What did he do to you when you played on him?
Destroyed me.
Swatted you off like a mosquito.
Could not stop him. But you talk about 3 points for a kick. There was no man who got more kicks than Nathan Buckley.
Now, Saturday night is going to be a 5K game. Again, an individual game looking at 2 different teams.
It is. Let's take a look. So it is St Kilda taking on the Sydney Swans at Etihad Stadium. Sydney players last week, they absolutely destroyed Port Adelaide, some big numbers for them. So certainly get some of them into your side. One of those is Dan Hannebery because he loves playing against the St Kilda Footy Club. Scored in the 130s the last time these two sides met, and at 16,400, he's expensive, but you don't mind when he's getting you 108 points per game. He is a star. Another star is Jack Stevens from the St Kilda Footy Club. He also loves playing on Etihad Stadium. Averages well into the hundreds on that ground, where away from there he's in about 95. So on that ground, certainly get him in at $6,050. Those two are my picks this week. Lock them in.
Now, would you subscribe to the theory that, you played in some pretty important games, that for St Kilda, Sydney it means something, but for St Kilda, they can still make the finals, that maybe get a few St Kilda players in because they're going to try so hard?
I think so, but perhaps maybe not for Draft Stars because they're focused on the team. At Draft Stars, we want to be focused on the individual. So maybe someone who's out of contract and looking to get their value up for next year might want to load up on their stats. So that's all we care about at Draft Stars.
That's all we care about. Now, we've got a big contest on the Sunday. It's the 12.5k Sunday shootout. Let's have a look at that now. So, again, Plenty of games to look at and plenty of players to put in your side. There's a huge range there. Tom Lynch, we're going to have a look at in a second. Joel Selwood's having a very, very good year again. But the first man we want to focus on, I mean, boy, oh boy, they've had a tough year, but hasn't this man been amazing? And he's going to be wearing the captain's armband this week at 20 years old, the third youngest captain in Essendon's history. He's been incredible. He's averaging 5 more disposals than any other player in the Essendon lineup, which is saying a bit because you've got players like David Zaharakis, a very good player, and he's averaging 115.6. So 16,000 if you're going to get Zach Merritt in there, but you'll get plenty of value. The next man we want to have a look at, Tom Lynch. Which one you say? Well, we could go either, and we're going to start with the Adelaide one. Had a big week last week. As we mentioned earlier, well, everyone did because Adelaide were playing in a training drill against Brisbane. But 13,000 as a forward, and he's averaging 91. This is the sort of guy who could kick you 4, 5, 6 goals in a game, plenty of possessions, he's good overhead. And, well, if you're going to go for one Tom Lynch, this might be the man. However, if you want to save a bit of money, flip a coin, save yourself almost 1,000 or just over 1,000, Tom J. Lynch comes in. And he's averaging 86.7. He's also averaging 3.6 goals in the last few weeks. So he might be a bit better value because he's 1,000 less than the other Tom Lynch. And I think Kane Corns...
I'm all over him.
You're all over him?
I am all over him because he plays against Essendon this week. He's in red-hot form. So if you're picking between the two Tom Lynch, it's Gold Coast Tom Lynch for me now. That is a tongue twister.
You probably can't afford to have both Lynches in your forward line, can you?
Well, I don't know. You might be able to. And the other Adelaide footy club from Tom Lynch is playing on the big ground at Subiaco Oval. So a lot of room to get up and take some marks.
He's got a good tank, that one, doesn't he?
You might have both.
You might have both. Now, things don't always go to plan on the footy field, do they, Kane?
They don't, and at Draft Stars, we hate injuries. Now, this man got an early injury, and it was an absolute fantasy fail.
Yeah, he failed, unfortunately, and we're talking about Gary Rowan from Sydney. Let's have a look at this. This is a kick for goal in the second quarter. Didn't quite go to plan,
Well,
did
if
it?
you got him in your Draft Stars side, he's lining up from 40 out, you think, there's 6 points straight up. Nah, just the one.
Just the one.
Behind.
Yeah, but he copped the corky early. He was on fire early, kicked a couple of goals.
He was on fire, copped the corky, only ended up with 39 Draft Stars points, which is a fail.
He needs to lift. Gary, if you're watching, which I know he watches the show every week, you might want to think about your form.
Lift, Gary.
Lift, Gary, lift. All right, now, our last game we're going to have a look at is the Sunday 3K contest. And Kane, you're all over this
Enough
one.
mucking around, let's get to it. It is the Cats taking on Richmond, and one man that I want to look at, as we see my side there, he's involved right at the top there at full forward, is Tom Hawkins, because he is back in form. 97 Draft Stars points last week. Now, he's playing against Essendon, so you might want to consider that, but well above his 74.8 points per game average. And at 11,400, he is good value. His opponent this week, though, could be this man, Alex Rance, and he also scored 97 Draft Stars points last week. I can't believe he's so cheap at just 10,650. He is exceptional value. He's probably going to get the job on Tom Hawkins. So who's going to get the better of that contest? Hopefully, for our Draft Stars fans, they both clean up.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I heard Sean Grigg say last week that he reckons that Alex Rance could be the best defender he's ever seen.
Whew, better than Matthew Scarlett.
I don't know. Well, at the moment, he just doesn't lose many one-on-one contests, does
And
he?
Richmond, they've had an ordinary year, but if they didn't have him in there, they could have finished bottom 3.
Yeah. Now, it's obviously an interesting time of the year in the football. We've talked earlier about this, but finals are coming up. So would you look at that as a strategy in terms of the teams that are playing? There's guys who want to cement their place in the side coming out to finals. There's teams who are trying to win. I know you talked about the team first aspect of it, but, you know, there could be some individuals to look at where their team's sitting.
No doubt something to consider, especially the ones that have qualified for top 4 as it gets closer to finals. They might perhaps rest some players. We know Scott Thompson from Adelaide had a rest last week. So really important to check in and just make sure that the team you've selected is the team that actually runs out.
And do you look at, because on the Draft Stars website, if you go to draftstars.com.au, you can go to any contest, go to the lobby, and you can click on any player you like. So let's take, a player like Alex Rance. You can click on him and it shows you all of the scores of the last few weeks. Do you look at that and go, right, A, he's been down for 2 weeks, so he's got to have a better week, or he's down now and let's just not touch him?
No, look, I look to see if they'll bounce back. I think Liam Pickham from the Bulldogs might bounce back. That's why I've got him in my side. I also look at someone like a Harry Taylor from Geelong. Now, who's their opponent? Is it going to be just a stopping role, a shutdown, where he doesn't get much of the footy? Or like last week, playing against Essendon, he scored over 100 points because he was able to some freedom, got a lot of kicks, a lot of marks. So I'll look at that.
I like it. Well, hopefully we've helped you out this weekend. As we said, there's lots of different games. There's plenty of prizes up for grabs. If we've given you a few tips, well, good luck to you this weekend. Remember, gamble responsibly as well. Kane, good luck to you.
And good luck to everyone. Good luck to you. Hopefully your 550 from last week can be improved upon.
What a sledge. We'll see you next week.